Welcome back. Joining us today is Amy McGrath, retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel and 2020 Democratic candidate for one of Kentucky's Senate seats. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to have you on this bright and early Tuesday, Amy. Well, let's start off with a tweet from you. You write, I'm running to replace Mitch McConnell in the U.S. Senate. Everything that's wrong with Washington had to start somewhere. It started with him. With your help, we can defeat Mitch and defend democracy. So, Amy, what inspired you to run in this cycle specifically?
Well, for me, it all comes back to leadership, and that we need better leaders in this country. Mitch McConnell is somebody who epitomizes everything that is wrong with our system, the obstruction, the fact that he's not even securing our elections right now, all of those things. And I'm somebody who has served my country for 24 years in the United States military. And I just, I took a step back like many Americans and said, hey, we got to do better. And I'm going to do my part. And that's why I'm running.
And Amy, you've ran before in Kentucky, but this year, you're running against Mitch McConnell, who has a notorious re-election campaign group and strategy. So let us know, how do you plan on dealing with that specific issue as you look forward?
Well, in Kentucky, many Kentuckians, they're tired of business as usual. They are tired of the system not working. So, we're in a state where we have the highest cancer rates in the country. We have some of the lowest wages in the country. We have some of the highest prescription drug prices in terms of per capita, how much people pay for that. And none of that stuff, for what everyday Kentuckians want to get done is getting done under Mitch McConnell. And so, I feel like this is a different cycle because people are so angry at the system, frankly. And I'm somebody that didn't grow up within the system. I'm somebody who served the country. I didn't grow up as I was an independent for 12 years. My husband's Republican. I'm a Democrat. We're just Americans, and we want to do the things that make our country better and make Kentucky better. And that's kind of the opposite of Mitch McConnell, who is, really bought off by special interests and doesn't really understand what everyday Kentuckians go through.
And Amy, you brought up the fact that your partner is a Republican and you are a Democrat, and that we do have a lot of bipartisanship happening across this country, but this issue is not letting anything get done. So how do you expect to do anything when we feel so polarized in this nation right now?
Well, the first step is to get rid of Mitch McConnell, because there's a lot of bipartisan things that we all need and know we want. Just a perfect example of this past week with election security. Even the Senate Intelligence Committee is saying, hey, our elections are vulnerable. And even folks like or countries like North Korea and Iran are looking at cyber attacking us. So we need to stand up, and Mitch McConnell is stopping all of this right now. He's just the purest form of obstructionism you can think of. And, that's something that if you could just get rid of him, it would go a long way to getting our country back on track.
All right, well, you raised $2.5 million on your first day after announcing your Senate bid. Why do you think you got so much support so quickly?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think folks are really excited to see somebody take on Senator McConnell around the country and in Kentucky. I think it's also just shows you how unpopular he is. Even in Kentucky, he's not really well liked. So, I feel like this is just an example of that. That's the reason.
Well, I want to get to another tweet from you earlier this month. I was asked earlier today about Judge Brett Kavanuagh, and I answered based upon his qualifications to be on the Supreme Court. But upon further reflection and further understanding of his record, I would have voted no. I know I disappointed many today with my initial answer on how I would have voted on Brett Kavanaugh. I will make mistakes and always own up to them. The priority is defeating Mitch McConnell. And now you said after giving your initial answer that it felt like it wasn't the right one. So what in your gut made you change course?
Well, when I answered that on the second day of my campaign, I was talking to a newspaper reporter, and he had asked me a question that had never been asked before. And I was a Marine Corps officer, and the first thing that you look at is basic qualifications for the job. So that was when I answered that about Judge Kavanaugh. And so, but again, I made a mistake. I should have looked at the broader picture. I should have looked, when I answered that question, I should have looked at it, as a sitting senator, I'm going to look at everything, including, Judge Kavanaugh's views on things like workers' rights, on things like women's reproductive rights, on things that I really care about, like money and politics. And so I knew that answer was something I needed to correct. And I did that right away in the most professional manner.
Yeah, and just given, how much energy I think came out and just how the Kavanaugh confirmation made so many people feel to have to watch that. Do you have a sense of how that particular misstep has impacted your campaign?
I don't think it's really impacted it at all. And, this whole thing is a function of Mitch McConnell. I mean, first of all, if he wouldn't have rammed through that nomination with all of the stuff that was going on with Dr. Ford and those very serious allegations against Justice Kavanaugh, I think, that's what made this so emotional to begin with. And then if you take it a step back even further, it's Mitch McConnell that put us in this place to begin with when he ripped up the Constitution, essentially, and would not allow even a vote on a sitting president's legitimate nominee in Merrick Garland. To me, it's just a part of all of why Mitch McConnell has to go.
And Amy, I would love to ask you about a breaking news item that's coming up that we're getting tweets about. Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky has just stated to the press that he says, I'm willing to contribute to buy her a ticket to visit Somalia, when referring to Senator Ilhan Omar.
Representative Ilhan Omar.
And he says she can look and maybe learn a little about that disaster that is Somalia. After she visits Somalia, she might come back and appreciate America more. So I'd love to know, how are you planning to handle the rampant xenophobia happening in D.C. and also within your own state with the elected officials that are most famous there?
Well, to me, it's about leadership. And in the military, you work with people from all walks of life who are Americans, some of whom are immigrants who are trying to be Americans, and we all wear the uniform together of the United States Marines. They come from different walks of life, different ethnicities, different backgrounds. And, I approach this the way I would approach it as a Marine Corps officer, is that you treat everybody with respect. And we are all Americans. And that is what makes this country the most awesome country in the world. And that's how I approach it.
Well, before you go, we got to ask you this. Are you watching the Democratic debate tonight? And what are you looking for?
Well, I have 3 small children, so after I put them to bed, and if all goes well, because that's sort of an interesting time every night, putting them to bed, my husband and I both plan on watching the Democratic debates. And, I'm just looking to see, just like many Americans, I haven't decided, which candidate I like. I want to see how their answers are. I want to see what they bring to the table.
What they bring to the table, which I'm sure is a lot, because there's a lot of them. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, great to see you.